Hello, Dave here again, and today what I'd like to do is do a little comparison between a couple of different pond filters, one that uses a sinking bed media and one that uses a floating bed media, and talk about the differences and advantages of each, and especially how I'm using those advantages in my setup here. So the two filters I'm going to be talking about is the one I'm showing now, is the Aquadyn 8000 HE floating bed filter using bead technology, and the second one I'm going to be talking about is the Alpha Ultima II 10,000. This uses a sinking bed media that is quite useful, especially in biofiltration. Both of these units are basically the same. They pretty much look the same. They use the same tank. They use pretty much the same multi-port valve on the top. What's different though is the media they use. So let's go ahead and start first with the Ultima II that uses the sinking bed filtration technology. Okay, so what we have here are the two types of media we're talking about. The one on the left is the Ultima II sinking bed bio media, and the one on the right is the Aquadyn 8000 floating bead media. Now, starting with the sinking bed media, I'm going to go ahead and flip this upside down so you can see why they call it the sinking bed media. And as you can see here, it doesn't take very long before you quickly see what's happening here, and it does sink to the bottom. So this means in order to pass water through this, you want to do it in such a way that you don't upset the media bed. That means, because it's a sinking bed media, that the water must enter the media from the top and then exit the filter from the bottom below the bed. Now, the media that we're talking about here is very interesting to look at. I'm going to show you some here. Hopefully you can see this, but basically it's a tubular biomedia is what they actually call it. It has these molded striations along its length. This is for two purposes. Number one, it's used for increasing the surface area, allowing more bacteria growth, and secondly, it helps to keep this media from actually clumping. I'm going to also show you a couple of these pieces of media a little closely so you can see them in another perspective. And as you can see here, the media is about a ½ inch long, it's about a ¼ inch wide, and in the center it has these molded areas where you can actually see kind of a Y-molded inner core. They are hollow, but they have this inner core Y configuration, again meant to increase the surface area of the media. This tubular media is very good insofar as its ability to create more surface area and thus be a better biomedia for turning ammonia into nitrites and then into nitrates. It does a pretty good job of that. It's a little challenge in my perspective from my experience as a mechanical filter, and with that I think I'm going to move over here to the floating bed media, and we're going to talk about that. This is the media again that comes from the Aquadyn 8000. It is a floated bed media. As you can see, I'll kind of turn this and you can see what happens here. It does always rise to the top. So since this media is always floating and it's at the top, in order to use it as a filter media, you have to have the water enter and exit in such a way that it's not going to disturb the bed. That means that the water going into this type of media has to come into the bottom and work its way up and then exit from the top, which is totally opposite of the sinking bed media that you get with the Ultra II. This media, as you can see here, hopefully you can see this, are little spheres, and each sphere has a little indentation on it meant to increase the surface area. You can get a little perspective here with my finger. Each one of these is maybe 1/8 of an inch in diameter. Now, the advantages of this kind of media, in my perspective, is physical filtration. It's far superior in this type of floating bed media than is the tubular biomedia. On the other hand, the tubular biomedia, in my estimation, is a much better biofilter because of its extra surface area than is the floating bed media. Now, the floating bed media is really excellent at doing biofiltration, but because of the extra surface area on this tubular media, I think it's just a little bit better. Now, I have both of these filters in my system. They're both being used. I work very hard, though. I move the water from a sieve into my Aquadyn 8000 floating bed media filter first. That way I get rid of as much as the dirt as I possibly can before then sending it over to the Ultra II and the sinking bed technology that allows it to do what it does best on the biomedia side. So I'm not using this filter really as a mechanical filter in so much as I'm trying to get the best I can out of the media on the bio side. And one of the reasons I do this is because I've had some problems with this media because of the way it's actually formed, getting little particles and debris caked inside these things. And that's a real problem because that will cause anaerobic bacteria and some hydrogen sulfide that's very detrimental to the health of your fish. So, you really have to make sure that you backwash this media extremely well and make sure that you don't have a lot of clumping going on that would keep that from happening. But again, I'm using these two filters together in series. I'm going through the Aquadyn and its floating bed media first, and then to the sinking bed media, the tubular media that I have in the Ultra II. So I'll come back after a few months to tell you how this setup is working, to go from one into the other. The advantage of going into this one last after the bead filter is, of course, I get rid of a lot of the dirt way ahead of time, and so most of the water that I send to this is already very clean, decreasing the chances of getting some clumping and filling of this media. Now, one of the things I was thinking about doing is changing this Ultra II and maybe drilling a hole in the top and adding some air into the bottom of this unit and turning this tabular biomedia into a moving bed biofilter. There's quite a few products out there, including, well, one of the best known is the Nexus filter that uses air to do just this. The biotubular media is about the same, and so they use air to keep that media moving, and that has two advantages. The first advantage would be that because it's always moving, newly formed bacteria is much stronger than the older bacteria and has an ability to absorb much more of the ammonia and the nitrates if you keep the bacteria fairly young. And moving it around seems to help do that. It keeps the colony much younger. The stronger stuff seems to hold on in the moving bed than does the older bacteria. So you have a much younger bacteria, or at least that's what the science says, growing in a moving bed filter. And the other advantage of that also is the fact that in a moving bed filter it's just harder to get debris clogging the inside because it's always moving. You're not using it as a physical filter in this case. You're using it as a biofilter and looking to create that really young, really strong bacteria that is so much better in converting your toxins to nitrates. So I'm going to run it this way without the air for a while just to see what it does to my ammonia, make sure that it's going to work fine, and then I might try to take a chance and drill a small hole and add some air in the bottom to see what the moving bed technology using the same media will do for me. So hopefully I'll be back in a little while, maybe a couple of months, to see how this is going to work, and then maybe make the change and come back and let you know how it's going. Thanks again for watching. Like to hear from you. Put your comments in the bottom. Thanks, guys.